Welcome back to the channel, folks, and to another battle report. This report was recorded at Nightly Gaming in Bathgate at our monthly meetup, and it was interesting in some ways, that meetup, because all the Germans brought Panthers. Soren from Burning Bridges, if you follow him on Facebook, was always about bringing the Panther back. Well, the Panther seems to be back. There was 3 types of Panthers being used by the 3 different German players. There was a Brigade Panthers, which we're quite familiar with from the recent games we've had on the channel. There was also some SS Panthers, the Panther Late, which we've seen maybe once, so it'll be interesting to see how they do. And also some good old-fashioned DD German Bagration Panthers that you don't see much of at all in the past or now, especially now that the late Panthers have got front armour 10. So we're going to take a look at 2 of these games. We're going to start off with Tom using the SS Panzer Grenadiers, including Panthers, up against Gareth's Soviet heavy assault gun company. I did say to Gareth, I like playing this list, but the worst thing you can come up against is Panthers, and his games are all against Panthers, so let's see how we got on anyway.
Right, this is just because at the beginning of a game I can swap out any units when I deploy for
So these are sappers.
sappers, and that's the units I can swap for.
So sapper platoon, that's your core formation. So
Core formation of the sappers, yeah?
3 platoons, 152s, 152s, 122s.
Sapper, which is a 14 strong one,
Yep.
with Panzerfausts,
right.
And then a big brick of Penal Legion with RPG 6s.
RPG 6. And they guys, they've got the Faust for your RPGs to leave.
Yeah. I said, what if I take MGs off them?
Yeah, you need the MGs on them because they'll get assaulted if you don't.
So we're getting set up now, folks. The mission is no retreat, with Tom defending. There is the halfway line. We've got an objective placed by Tom there, and by Gareth over here. Now, it was a little bit closer to the wood, but Tom's got one of those sneaky, annoying little cards that allows him to move people's objectives. Terrible thing, that card. So they're just starting to get set up with ranged in markers and minefields. Now for minefields, they only appear to have used 4, despite this being 120 points, but you can see 3 on the objective on the flank and 1 on that hill. Pre-ranged in markers, we've got a German one here and on the road, and also Soviets here, here and here, though the chances are they're all going to lift once the game starts. Let's look at Tom's deployment. He's got veteran Volks Grenadiers, that's using one of the cards protecting that objective. He's got Panzer Grenadiers and half-tracks and flame hetzers behind the hill. Got an observer, got a line of 3 Werbelwinds and 2 8-8s, and then he's got 4 mortar half-tracks and 3 Wesps at the wood there, that's his artillery. The Pak 40s sitting there are in ambush. And in reserve he's got 4 Panthers, 2 Pumas and his HQ. He's actually had to take his HQ off to meet the right split in this game. Remember, it's 120 points. So to sum up Tom's formation, it's the SS Panzer Grenadiers with a HQ, a platoon, a full-size platoon and half-tracks, 4 Panthers, 3 Pak 40s, 4 mortar half-tracks, 3 Werbelwinds, 3 Wesps, 3 flame hetzers, 2 Pumas and the veteran Volks Grenadiers. Gareth's deployment, now it's a pretty narrow front you have to attack on in this mission, so he's basically got himself lined up in a straight line. Sappers nearest to him, then his assault guns with the HQ, as you see, working across the line there, and then his big blob of penal guys at the end, and he can maybe do some kind of bullhorn tactic here. And we're ready to go. So Gareth is moving his infantry up the flanks, as you can see, the big lumps either side. He's using dashes and follow me's, and then with his assault guns he's tackling the sort of the decision, the difficult way to play these guys. Do you stay put and bombard, or do you advance? So he's trying to do a combination of both by blitzing, so he can edge forward but keep the bombardment going, you need to get close, remember, to support those attacking infantry. Shooting for Gareth is mostly bombarding. The ISU 152 batteries both managed to range in on the 88s and 2 of the Werbelwinds. They managed to kill one of the 88s, nearly got a Werbelwind, but it made it safe. Gareth wants to kill those Werbelwinds before they kill his infantry. The ISU 122s, because of a failed blitz, they just fired. They moved up and fired. They've got slow firing and a failed blitz, so getting hits was pretty unlikely, and as it is, they didn't get anything. But that line on the road there is under a lot of pressure from artillery bombardments. Starting step for Tom's turn 1 is just some motivation. He's got to rally the 88 and then do a last stand, and both were successful. And Tom has popped his ambush. He's just trying to figure out the best place to stick those Pack 40s. No reserves arriving this turn. The Panzer Grenadiers are moving up to support those Pack 40s. A heavy machine gun moving up to get line of sight down there. Then the Werbelwinds, they're moving up to get shots on the big blob of penal infantry moving up on the flank. And the flame Hetzers are sensing a big open air barbecue here, folks. They're moving up to await that arrival. Tom started firing with his mortars and his Wesps, and they both ranged in slightly different positions but right on top of that blob. The mortars killed 2 and the Wesps killed 6 out of 8 hits, but that's that 4-up save, guys. It can really bite you. The Werbelwinds were next. Lots and lots of hits, but only 2 failed saves. The Pack 40 ambush, some shots were at long, some were at short range. They managed to get 4 hits altogether. Now the resulting saves were quite good, but this is anti-tank 12 against front armour 9. At long range that goes up to 10. As it was, there was only 1 potential bail and 1 potential kill. The potential kill ended up just as a bail. The potential bail ended up as nothing. So the ISU 122s have survived that ambush quite intact, and I think from my own experience that's quite common when you're trying to ambush with Pack 40s against heavier frontal armour. The 88 has joined in against the ISU 122s, managed to get 1 hit out of 2, but it bounced. The ISU 122 would be front armour 10 at long range against anti-tank 14. Gareth's turn 2. The ISU 122 remounts. He's got the company commander beside him, and then in the penal formation, penal unit, they unpin on a 2-up with the commissar. Soviet movement. The ISU 152s, 1 platoon passed a blitz, 1 failed a blitz. So the one that failed is just moving up. That's the central one. The 122s have got targets, and the sappers have got a nice big wood to run into. They then pass to follow me, and remember they've got a 6-inch assault range, guys, so quite a long reach. Soviet shooting, so starting with ISU 152s that moved, direct firing at the Werbelwinds, but no hits there. Gareth is looking to destroy those Werbelwinds to reduce the amount of defensive fire that will be directed against his assault that is going to be coming this turn. The 152s that didn't move are putting a fairly danger close bombardment down to catch a couple of Werbelwinds, but they failed to range in. So it's left to the ISU 122s, and what can they get? They managed to get 1 hit, and with anti-tank, 14 firepower 2, it's pretty inevitable 1 dead, but only 1 dead Werbelwind. The assault didn't go in, folks. There was enough defensive fire to drive them off. And then into Tom's turn, in terms of motivation, to start with, the 88 legged it, the surviving 88. The Werbelwinds, because of where they were positioned and casualties from the previous turn, they had to make a last stand. but they passed it. So that left reserves. Tom had 2 dice this turn, and he managed to get one. So for Tom's movement, you can see first of all the Werblewinds, the survivors, came together for motivation. The Flame Hetzers moved over to the other flank, eyeing up those sappers that are coming, and the HQ came on from reserves, not the Panthers. Tom wants his HQ for motivation. So Tom's shooting is starting against the infantry. Against the sappers, lots of hits, but no kills at all. Now against the poor Pino guys, well, they end up with all the firing going their way down to just one base.
One concealed and one open.
Yeah.
So short range, 1, short range concealed, 2, and then long range, 2. So
5.
Over 3.
Right, so where do you want the long range ones? Are both on the same one?
yeah,
And then, right, so I'll do the short range, or the short range one
yeah,
with 2 shots on it.
yeah. So
One failed,
got him.
got him, so bang. Second one with 1 shot on it, clanged. And
The
long
IS-2
range,
commander has joined in
clang,
now,
clang.
but he misses. So only one ISU has fallen to the Pack 40 so far, folks.
For defensive fire, depending on
Soviet turn
what
3
direction
motivation, the
the
sappers
assault
unpinned,
comes from.
and this
that
last
Pino battalion
surviving
is committed,
Pino guy,
so
he's
regardless
not going
of
anywhere,
the
guys.
2 remaining
He's
Werblewinds,
staying.
Gareth is
I
still
seem to have
going
missed
in
the
for the kill.
movement for the
He's
Soviets
trying
here,
to
folks,
maximise
but
his number of
the
hits,
ISU
but
152,
minimise
so
the
this
amount
is
of
the
defensive
firing
fire coming in from
that you can
surrounding
see
teams.
right up at the front. They tried to blitz and failed, so Gareth has moved them up. Try to shoot the Werblewinds, but the failed blitz and everything else combined means they need a 6.
So no hits for the 1, 2, 2.
I'm going to do 2 dirt shots into the building.
Right. Veterans.
Oh, you're going to ground as well.
To ground.
Pack 40s then.
Just concealed. Any one? Oh no, I'm at short range. Yeah, close. 1.
Just 1 hit.
Yeah, but you're brutal, aren't you?
Save or die.
I am helping you where I can. Oh, it's automatic.
152s.
I mean, that's what they're there for, isn't it?
Right.
In fact, can I shift it?
Yeah, attempt it. Go for it.
No. That's fine. That one's fine.
Nah, it's just so because he was close to getting flank shots to him. If I ever decided to go that way. Right, I'm going to try and range in.
Oh no, I'm stupid. I might have to shift it onto him.
He wasn't within
Yeah.
6.
Yeah.
He wasn't within
So
6.
it's not within 6.
Oh, is it? Alright, fair enough.
152s are going to try and
I'm going to try and range in at that point now. Sorry, I'm not going to put it down. It's a bad luck to put it down first.
Yeah, you are really fairly enough.
He's trying to jinx you.
5s.
Oh, God.
So only one Pack 40 so far in this turn. I think, though, that shouldn't have been an auto kill. I think it was a 2-up firepower, which is close to an auto kill, but not quite. Soviet assault send, folks. That single remaining base from the Pino platoon has gone in against a Pack 40, and there's no counterfire because of teams blocking line of sight and out with 8 inches and so on, and it kills the Pack 40. And the Panzer Grenadiers seem to be cursed with poor motivation in all the games that Tom has used them in. They run away, so the little single base gets to consolidate into the barn. German turn 3, and the last surviving Pack 40, even though it's fearless, failed its last stand. And there is one reserve unit coming on this turn. German movement. Now the Werblewinds are coming over to join the Flame Hetzers. The reserves have planked themselves on the hill with a great line of sight. Flame Panzers are moving up to kill that poor remaining base, but if they don't kill him, who knows what he might get up to. Now you can see the Panthers have a good line of sight down there against 2 of the 3 ISU platoons. Tom's shooting, starting with the artillery. He's put a smoke bombardment down, which has left just one platoon of ISU's line of sight against his defensive area. They'll have to move, which is a disadvantage for them if they want to be firing next turn. Then the Wesp, that was the the mortars put the smoke down, and the Wefts have done a repeat bombardment against the sappers, so it's re-rolling saves. Quite a few hits, but the only fail was one of the flamethrowers, but it's always a flamethrower, it seems, guys. But there's still one flamethrower left in the platoon, but one dead that turn. Now Tom is going to try and toast that survivor in their folks' very cruel way.
Right, he has got only 8 hits, 4 hits plus 8 saves.
It's not a rerolls or 8 dice, depending on how you want to look at it.
That's 4 plus. How much money if you get? Will you give me the big money?
If you make them all, I'm going, right, okay, roll this.
He's a goner. Thoroughly a goner.
These
Panthers now going for
long range.
Yeah, 4s. Oh, the high ground, so yeah, 4s.
2.
14 in it?
Yeah.
10 against 14.
Why we go up to 10?
Yep.
Oh dear.
2 5 powers.
Oh dear. Oh, 2 barrels.
I'm going to use a...
A lucky, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, I need to kill him.
Yeah, even better. I love that when that happens with a lucky card.
Fucking bastard.
Now, Soviet movement, you can see the infantry unpinned and they're moving up to get into and around the wood. The ISUs that had to move forward. The 122s failed a blitz and they're just going to turn to face down past the wood to support the sappers, and Gareth is just trying to figure out how he can get an assault in past minefields and defensive fire. ISUs revenging their brothers against the flame tanks.
Is it 4 normally? Yeah. So it goes 5, just like 5. 1 hit, anti-tank 13.
Equal.
2 hits, so 1 each.
Come on, boys, this is it.
Both dead.
2 dead. That's what happens to flame tanks.
Yeah.
The other ISU 152 platoon is using its anti-aircraft MGs against the lightly armoured whirlwinds, but only get 1 hit, and it's an easy save for them in the end. The IS-2 company commander tries to shoot that observer, but no chance. It's a miss. Gareth is really keen to launch an early assault here. He's only got 2 bases that can actually make it into contact, but he puts his smoke bombardment down, the smoke pots for the sappers. Defensive fire comes in, 4 hits. Very, very close to stopping it and driving it back. One of the bases passes its save, so there's going to be 1 base in assault. So that single base swings and it misses after all that, folks. So it's time for a counter attack, and what do these veteran Volksgrenadiers do? They do what they always seem to do for Tom. They break off, they fail their motivation. So Gareth consolidates. He's going to keep moving forward. He's got a bit of an open flank from that smoke if Tom can get around it, but he wants to just keep moving forward. So Tom's turn 4 in terms of motivation. Once again, the Volksgrenadiers have failed to rally, failed another motivation, but reserves are coming in, and the surviving flame hitzer has stayed. So Tom is swinging his forces around to deal with these sappers. That's the thing now, and he's got lots of good opportunities. You can see the infantry have come out their half tracks, along with the Pumas. They've got lots of opportunities with machine gun fire to kill some of those sappers before they get another assault in. So German shooting. There was a smoke bombardment put down by the West. You can see it just about the top of the screen there, and then lots of machine gun shots coming down the open flank of the sappers. Lots and lots of hits. I mean, you're talking about 8 from one platoon, 5 from another platoon, but only 1 failed save, so they did really well. Now you see the smoke screen there, and the Panthers have an ideal opportunity to shoot at those ISUs and maybe do some real damage.
That's very good, but it's got 1 hit each. In front of a 10 against.
Half they 9. 9 goes to 10.
Oh.
2 saved, the middle one really well saved. Yay! I've got some.
2 survived, 1 dead. Turn 5, Soviet motivation and the sappers unpin, which is absolutely essential for the further conduct of the game here. and then there's one platoon on the far side of the table, the far flank of the Soviet line of ISU 152s that needs to do a remount, which fails, then needs to do a last stand, which it just passes. Soviet movement, one platoon of ISU 152s has moved forward onto the road. And then on the other side of the table, the commander, the IS-2, has made it through the minefields, so he's in a position to assault. Gareth thought, what the hell, give it a go. And then to back up that assault, we've also got the sappers moving around the open end of the minefields. They're very close to a hell of a lot of machine gun fire, as you can see, but they're forming the other part of a pincer, which is now moving in towards that objective. Gareth is starting his firing with a bombardment from two ISU 122s. They can see down between the woods and the smoke screen.
Still gets 3 half tracks and 2 Pumas if I range. It's a mighty move.
It's only a 4.
Yeah. No. Oh, it's a second. So what's hit on 3s, what's hit on 4s?
The Pumas are 4s, the half tracks are 3s. So it'll be 5s and 4s.
5s and 4s re-rolling successes.
Yeah.
So I'm doing the 3 half tracks.
Yeah.
So the 4s.
2 hit, 3 rolls,
1 definitely hit.
Anyway,
0 against 3.
I think it was the middle one by what way it landed.
middle one failed.
So the 2 up.
Death.
So this guy,
2 Pumas. 1 hit so far.
potential Puma,
No
no.
hits.
Pumas are fine.
The ISU 152s are firing at the Panthers. The platoon with just 1 active gets 1 shot and misses. And now we're on to the platoon on the road.
You mean to be in short range?
No, meant to be. That was the first I could go. I was meant to be.
Yeah. Well, sorry, are you shooting at these?
Yes.
Right. So you've got 1 in short range.
Oh, okay.
You've got 2 at short range, actually. Yeah, 2.
2 at short range, so that counts.
So 3s normally, slow firing, concealed. So 2 need 5s, 1 needs 6s.
5s, 1 hit, 6. No. Oh, nearly. That was teetering.
6, 18.
13.
So
Goes to 4.
10 plays 13.
Auto firepower.
Yeah, so
1 bailed out.
And the PTRD.
Tank rifles,
3s. So
2 hit. Tank 5.
half track.
I think I'm from 1.
Yeah, I think
Maybe
it's
2, but which ones?
2. Those 2, yeah.
Okay. So guy closest, oh dear, guy furthest.
Not that safe. 1 failed, 5 power 1, so fail it.
Cool. Right, the fun bit. Right, the SMG that can only hit there.
Yep.
This SMG can hit there. Just those 2.
Okay. So do you want to do the guy in the field first because he can only hit?
Yeah, and it's concealed as well because it's over 2 inches worth.
I'm
They're all
concealed.
concealed.
I didn't move on.
Oh, of course, yeah, my bad.
Nope.
Missed. The other SMG?
Nope.
No.
The important one.
Flamethrower.
I love Russian flamethrowers. There it is.
You need 6s. I'm veteran.
It was gone, guy.
Oh, they're not SS.
No, these are the Panzer Grenadiers that are cowardly.
Apologies.
Cowardly, but careful.
Yeah, no, it's fine. No,
They're pinned anyway, aren't they? So
I thought it was
Yeah, I'm pinned anyway.
blank shot into that
same
headset.
hits.
Yep.
5 will do it.
No, because he's slow firing, I'm concealed.
He's
I'm
veteran.
I'm careful.
So it's assaulty time, folks. The IS-2 goes in against the Volks Grenadiers, who have 2 Faust and a Shrek, and they're pinned, so they need 4s to hit, and they miss. Everyone misses, which is a bit of a surprise to Tom. So Gareth swings, kills, and Tom thinks, do I counter-attack? I'll be able to hit him 3 times if I do, but my guys are scared of cats for some reason. They seem to want to run away, but he's decided discretion is the better part of valour anyway, and pulls back. Gareth has consolidated the IS-2 beside the objective, and he's decided he's not going to assault with his infantry. German Turn 5 motivation. The half-track that was bailed out, it remounts. The Panther didn't remount, and the Volks Grenadiers actually passed a motivation and they rallied. Oh, and the flame Hetzer, it passed its last stand too, it's still hanging in there. In terms of movement, it's just get everything closing in around Gareth's 2 platoons that are actually on the objective, remember, so they can shoot them down, pin them and assault them, and the Panthers, they're going to stay put on the hill to shoot. So for shooting, the flame Hetzer killed the Soviet flamethrower. Must have thought, I'm the only guy going to be doing any burning around here, folks. And then the West ranged in at the back, but to no real effect. The Volks Grenadiers are going to have another go at the IS-2 with 2 Fausts and 1
I
Shrike.
guess the Shreks at the front as well.
Faust is 12.
I'll do right. I'll do the Fausts. Right, 2 Fausts needing 5. So 2 hits from a Panzer Faust. Don't hit with a Panzer Shrek. So that's against his side armour.
Yep, so 12 versus 8.
Yeah.
Run away to do something. Fail both, 5 plus 6.
Is
I'll
dead.
do it.
Bye, Commander.
Then all of the machine gunning various units at the sappers on the flank there gets, I think, 5 bases, and then the Pumas fire in and manage to get another base, so it's a very high attrition rate for them. In the assault phase, Tom has gone in with his Panzer Grenadiers, so these guys are the fearless SS guys, and they go in and they're in contact with 2 bases, 4 dice, and they manage to kill both. So it's counter-attack time, and Gareth goes in, successfully motivates, hits, kills 1, and then the fearless guys, they run away. It seems to be a bit of a theme for Tom's army today, unfortunately. In his consolidation move, Gareth is putting a couple of bases, and he successfully passes his skill checks into the minefield to try and stick around at that objective. Oh, and the Panthers didn't kill a single tank, they all made their saves. Gareth's turn 6, so the bailed ISU 152 did not get back in, but they passed their last stand, and the sappers rallied. Soviet movement, the ISU 122s, they're closing in, as are the 152s, but they're also moving up to contest an objective. The other 152s stayed put, and the sappers stayed put too. On to Soviet shooting. Well, the ISU 152s are stuck their necks right out here on that objective, and all of the ISU 152s shooting at the Panthers that they all miss. Now the ISU 122s have moved up, but they failed a blitz to get there, folks. I maybe didn't mention that. They used their anti-aircraft MGs against infantry, and once again all missed. The few remaining bases of sappers are also firing at the Volks Grenadiers and the HQ in this case to try and get in an assault. Gareth launches his assault, but remember, he's got to come out the minefield, but he passes his 2 skill checks required. There was a hell of a lot of defensive fire here, folks. There was heavy machine gun, Volks Grenadiers with MG bases, assault rifle bases. I think even the flame Hetzer might have got in the act, folks. So basically, the assault was driven back, which effectively ended the game. There was I think 1 or 2 bases of infantry left by the end of it all, folks. That's all, and they got clobbered the following turn, which meant a victory for Tom and the Germans. There you go, folks, a solid defensive win for Tom. His Panthers didn't do much in the end, did they? Really, they came up onto that hill, a dominating position, and should have done quite a bit of damage against those ISUs. You know, but the ISUs have got that armour that gives you the chance to save. And in this case, ISUs did. They survived quite well, a lot better than the infantry did. And this game came down to the infantry getting up, trying to get into assault, but just getting chewed up on the way, and that is so often the case for infantry in version 4. If I'd have done anything different for Gareth, it would have been to get his ISUs in support of the infantry as much as possible, get them right up there so that they can be digging out the opposition close into where the infantry are and supporting them directly. But it's not easy. It's not an easy list to use, but it's a fun list to play with that I enjoy myself. Now, Tom's second game, he played, it was in Dust Up against Sean's British list. It had tons of anti-tank guns. 6-pounders times 2, 17-pounders, Achilles, so lots and lots of anti-tank. But the Panthers, what did the Panthers do? Well, they all died in an assault in one turn, pretty much. Went in against British infantry with 1 Piat, and after 1 turn of assault, getting 1 destroyed and 2 bailed out, fearless Panther that was surviving ran away, leaving 2 more dead Panthers behind it. Before we go on to the second game, let's talk about the Panzer Brigade list that Mark brought. Now, he used it in his first game against Peter's US, and you're going to see Peter in the next game too, and against Gareth's assault company that you've just seen. Now, in the first game, it was a sort of fair fight kind of mission. Both sides needed to take objectives. Never played it myself. It's called Probe. Bit of a dodgy mission, if you ask me. But it ended up with, it was a long game. Ended up both sides sort of swirling around each other, using terrain as much as possible. But in the end, Peter managed to isolate, I think maybe even there was just 1 infantry platoon on Mark's list, and Peter isolated it and dealt with it in assault, despite lots of Faust and things. And in the second game, when Mark was up against Gareth, it was, I think it was Scout Sight they were playing, and it was very similar in terms of the first game, in as much as the ISUs all survived and the infantry all got killed, and that was enough for Mark to win that game. And in both games, well, the Panthers did okay. They did okay, but they weren't decisive, especially against the careful Shermans and the well-armoured ISUs. But they were still a powerful presence. On to our second game, and we're going to be seeing Kenneth playing his good old-fashioned, careful, confident, veteran Panthers, the front armour 9 types. Now, I've seen him play this list. This is 120 points. I've seen him play 100 points with this list before, and he's quite confident and capable with it. He just makes an armoured wedge, basically, and gets stuck straight in. He did that in the first game against Sean's British infantry, who had 2 6-pounder platoons, a 17-pounder platoon, 4 Achilles, some Shermans, some Crocs, but Kenneth just pushed right through, rode his luck where he had to, but even just went straight over Minefields and took the objective quite comfortably. So in this game, it scouts out again. He's up against Peter's US list. So let's go over, look at the list and get started with the game. Here is Kenneth's Panther formation. It is a DD Bagration Panther formation. 120 points again. It's got an HQ of 2 Panthers and a platoon of 5 Panthers. That's one big platoon in points, guys. Probably only possible in something like 120 points. Then you've got a Panzer Grenadier platoon and Wirbelwind platoon, all part of the formation with Stukas in support. And he's also got the Bake command card, which gives him really good blitzes, possibly more, but really good blitzes. The Panzer Pioneer card, and then the Stukas Fus card to put down one massive bombardment. And in the first game that he played, it was really quite effective in the 1 turn it gets to fire. So let's see how it works in this. So there's aircraft, Panzer Grenadiers, and quite a few Panthers, expensive Panthers, but not many platoons. Here is Peter's 120 points of late Shermans. Now, he's got a company HQ of a 75 and a 76, and then 4 platoons of 76mm Shermans. 1 of each in the platoon is a jumbo. Then 4 Chaffies, 3 armoured mortars, 3 priests, and an observer. Now, he's also using command cards. He's using the Spearhead card, I believe. We'll see the cards in a minute, which reduces the motivation of his units. And then he's using Patton, and then he's using the hypervelocity armour piercing. So the debuff from the motivation makes up the points he needs for Patton and for the better anti-tank, and Patton improves the motivation of certain platoons within 8 inches, I believe, and line of sight. So here's the command card, folks. Have a wee look at that, and then we'll carry on from there. So the mission is Scouts Out, and here is deployment. You can see Peter's got his mortars, priests and chaffies down beside the wood, and then his first platoon and HQ on the back edge there. And he's got 2 platoons in reserve, as we'll see. And then we have got on the far side Werbelwinds, Pioneers dug in with their half-tracks with the Stukas of Fuss looking over a hill, and then the Panzer HQ with the Stukas on the table as well, and then one massive chunk of points in one platoon of 5 Panthers in reserve. Turn 1 movement for Peter's Yanks is the Chaffies dashing over to the far side to join the Shermans there. The Shermans just moving up to the hedge. Turn 1 shooting for the Yanks. As this is a meeting engagement, they're going first. Everything is at moving rate of fire, regardless of whether or not it moved, and no artillery, planes, etc. So the Shermans are trying long range shots, needing a hell of a lot, something like 8s, because the stabiliser's gone to ground and so on and so on. So they don't get any hits on the HQ. It would have been a very short game if they had. Those 2 HQ tanks are going to have a lot to do. Kenneth's first turn, the only thing he needs to do is roll for aircraft, but they don't turn up. Turn 1 movement for the Germans. The Panthers are getting themselves up into hull down position, which gives them a great field of fire and some protection against all that anti-tank 13 that's sitting down there. And then I think the intention here is to make a move with the Werbelwinds against the artillery, which looks kind of vulnerable just now. Kenneth is starting his shooting with his big salvo template, his one-hit wonder from the Stukas of Fuss. And if it hits, it hurts, but it's got a really good anti-tank and firepower. But he's going to need a 40 range in. He's veteran, and there's terrain underneath that template, and he doesn't roll above a 2. So the one-hit wonder does nothing. But, you know, it is a one-hit wonder. You maybe can't expect it to do too much or be too disappointed if it doesn't do anything. Over to the guys for the rest of this turn shooting.
Purple platoon, 76s. Any particular guy? Not jumbo.
Well, you're going to pass it on to the jumbo anyway, so ideally not the jumbo.
So I've got 2 shots, over the 16s, that's 4s, 5 for range. 5 for range. You're on a hill, so you can. Okay, 2 and 5.
That's so cocked, it's unbelievable. It's saying 5 to me, but I don't know what it's saying to you. There you go.
So 1 hit. So do you want to try and pass it?
It's taking targets.
Yep.
Okay.
So that's anti-tank 14.
11 is up to 12. Does it take range?
About 1 or 2?
And 3, so it's okay. Yank turn 2 starting step is just rolling for the observer, but it doesn't turn up. Not that he needs it in this game. Peter didn't do any movement in that turn because everything has got something juicy to shoot at. He's going to put in a smoke bombardment, however, in the initial phase of shooting to cut off those Panthers. And then, as you'll see, he can turn all of his guns to the more vulnerable elements of Kenneth's list. That's a good position for the smoke.
4s up to
Nullifies that. Firing right position. Even 6s. Get these guys on round. Oh, bloody ignore him.
what's the anti-tank for now?
10.
Front
3.
3.
Goes up to 4.
Up to 4, so I can maybe, but I
Yeah.
can maybe. Presumably, we'll go for the front 3.
Right, yeah, okay, so as they lie, nothing. So firepower.
3 fire, 5 pounds to kill a bale, kill, and a bale.
2 bales and 1.
So Dale, he's dead.
It was bale, kill, bale.
Bale, kill, Bale.
Yeah.
platoon are going to do the same. I don't think it's 16.
No, I think they're long range.
So again, it'll be sixes. So
76.
4. Two. So these two, I'll go for the non. Okay, I will try and pass it on to him with a 3. Yes, so I'll pass one on to him. In fact, this should go straight through because they're like what, like 13? Yeah. Yeah, so straight through. So it's 2, was it 2? So we just firepower these two. Dead. Dead. And then the HQ will do the same. No. So it's 6 again. I'll do them separate. Well, okay. Does it matter what?
Well, you could potentially get a bail with a 75.
76. Nope. 75.
Nope.
To be honest, I was hoping those 6s would save me.
That was a lot of 60, but it was a lot of dice actually.
So that
when you think of it.
These guys just shit. Are they poking over the edge? Yeah, they're kind of looking over. Same as well, let's try and can see it in the air. So 3 up to 4 for the hill. So where are you wanting it? You want it here? Yes. Okay, so yeah, 3, 4 for the hill. First attempt. Yes, first attempt. So hitting on 4s. Hit me force. I'm guessing. So 2 things. Top 0.
So a punishing turn of shooting for those poor Webblewinds. They did stick their neck out a bit. Kenneth was maybe probably thinking what they're going to do with them in this game, try and get them in, but Peter's luck was with them in the shooting, though he did have a hell of a lot of dice to roll.
Stands on 3 up. No, so he just goes.
And no playing this turn either.
Behind the hill now.
After that's a move back into the wood 1, failed across checks. Panthers keeping themselves outline of sight, they're watching the objective.
So no shooting for the Germans this turn. American turn 3, and with a little bit of help from that pattern card, first platoon of reserves have arrived and dashed on. The Chaffies have dashed around the side there, looking for a flank move on the objective. And I forgot this, the scout platoon. It's been struggling to cross that little river since the start of the game. It's finally got over. Peter's never heard of a cross here order, it seems. And then he's got some more crossing to do. He's got to get over that hedge, he's decided. And the Jumbo doesn't make it, but the rest of the platoon does. The HQ passes, cross checks too. One thing to note here though, because they've moved out more than 6 inches away from the Jumbo, that's the platoon, and the HQ to a degree as well, they're not going to be able to use that Jumbo for protection and shooting.
So he is close range to him, but he's outside from both of them. So he can just target that guy, and then it doesn't really matter who he targets. So we do them separately. So he'll be hitting on 5s, he'll be hitting on 6s. 5s, and front 9. Well, you fired anyway. You remember if you build them, they get in and a 4 up. So.
No hits there in the HQ against HQ shooting.
Ranging in on your infantry, a 1, 1 and a 5.
You're hitting +2. You're hitting all of them except that guy. Sorry, all of them. Aye. Yeah, all of them except him. So 6s. So let's do this guy. This guy. That guy. That guy. Nope. These no, he's out. He's out.
Oh, another 6.
The priests are going to try and these guys. 3's got the 4s. So there. Okay, so the 3's got the 4. First hit.
So a very different turn of shooting for the Yanks, but it's not such a target-rich environment this turn. German turn 3 starting step. Reserve folks. Are they going to come in?
Debate running lucky for it.
So now, what happens if you have a pop? Is it 4 shots?
I'm going to burn lucky for it. Planes. Hey.
So the Stukas are lining up for their attack run, but there are so many 50 cals in this force. So movement, and Kenneth is using his 2-up blitz to position his company command to keep them beside the objective but out of line of sight as much as possible from the ordinary platoon of 76 Shermans. Now to the Stukas. So first of all, the anti-aircraft fire, 15 dice, most of them needing 5s to hit, and they managed to get 5 hits in total.
My save is 3 up. So the one on my right, potential kill. The one on my left, 2 potential kills. So 1 firepower for the guy on the right. No firepower for this guy. That's a kill, I think. Yeah. And I'm not doing well this time. Okay, let's continue. So I've got 2 shots on this group here. Hit you on force. Right. These 2 4 shots on the HQ. Hitting you on 5 6s.
I think you're shot once.
Both. Yeah, I think it's just about. So 4s, 5s for the sealed. 4 shots on 5. 3 hits. So 2 onto the long gun and 1 onto that. Do you want to try and swap?
You can see it. You can see that guy.
I can see him. Yeah.
So try and jump. The 2 of them.
2 of them. Right. Okay. Yep. So just small shots. Yeah. So he got 2 shots going to him then. And then you can keep doing. You can keep doing it basically.
As long as it's line of sight.
Yeah, it's line of sight. So
Yeah,
he can see him. Yes. Yeah. So that's what happens instead.
Okay, so
So anti-tank 14.
short range, I reckon. So straight firepower.
So is it? Yeah. So 2 in this one, 2 in that one, and 3 up. Dead. And then that guy in the middle. Dead.
Bit of a mixed turn there for Kenneth. Got some kills but lost one of his Stukas. American turn 4 starting step. So they've got a last stand to do on the Sherman platoon that took 2 casualties because the jumbo was left behind at the hedge. But Patton is nearby, as in the HQ, so they're going to get a 2-up motivation with a reroll, so no problem there. The reserves, they get to 1 more platoon on, and I think that's the last platoon actually, and the observer aircraft so far has not turned up in this game, doesn't turn up here, but it's not really needed. American movement, the reserves have come on right at the edge of the deployment zone, and they've kind of split a little bit but keeping within command so they can get line of sight onto the HQ Panthers. The 76mm from the platoon that took casualties is pulled back beside the jumbo to keep in good spirits and also take advantage of the jumbo's protection. Now the Chaffee is out in the flank. Peter is rolling for a blitz and he gets it. These guys have got Yankee ingenuity, so that's a 3+ tactics. So with their 12-inch tactical, that means they've got a 16-inch threat range, so they can move 16 inches and fire with their stabilisers. So he's moving up onto the hill to get as many tanks past the side, past the front armour onto the side of the Panther HQ as he can. So there's a lot of pressure coming down now on that Panther HQ. The other reserve platoon is just going to make a dash move.
Right there, we can get it.
So it'll be 3 going up to 4.
3, 4, yep.
Who's trying to range in on the Panthers?
So 200 hitting 4s.
One hit, right? At the anti-tank 3 versus top 1, isn't it?
Oh, just a bell.
This tank here.
The same again, the 4s, 5s, just close range on that. Nope.
Just before, is it concealment?
Yeah, it's firing from inside.
If you're within 2 inches of the edge of any concealing terrain or behind a wall, such like you're not.
Is that not short cover? Linear cover?
No, it's any concealing terrain.
Oh, okay. I thought they were just firing from inside. In that case, it's 4, so 1 hit.
Save.
Yeah, so what's that? I need some 4s to match, presumably that's your big one. That's your load. Less. Well, can I try powering it off with the guy that's bailed?
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, some is dead. Yeah, so he dies.
2 shots or 2 tanks firing. Just at 4 5s.
5s.
Yes. 1. Is that the chaffies or?
Chaffies.
Okay. So it's 10. So 1 hit. What's that anti-tank? Versus 5. 5 to match.
How's that?
Can this guy see?
No, I wouldn't think so.
No, I wouldn't say so.
These guys just come on.
Sorry?
3 tanks.
Yeah.
And that one's blocked.
It's all concealed, but yeah, you can absolutely see. So 3 shots. 3 shots on 4s normally, 5s for range, 6s for concealment.
7 for.
7 for concealment.
6 shots. Yeah.
6.
Nearly, but no 7s there for Peter. A repeat bombardment from the mortars killed 1 base of infantry in that platoon at the table edge at the back there. German starting step, the infantry didn't rally, but the reserves are coming in, as is the plane. So German movement, the plane's been placed behind the Shermans again, and then the reserves have moved on a tactical. The company command is a tricky one for Kenneth just now because he is threatened on both flanks. You can see the reserve Shermans are moving up as well. So he's thinking about moving them back into the wood, but he fails a cross check. But he has at least not now shown the flanks to the Chaffies. Kenneth is starting his shooting with the Stuka. There's not as many tanks grouped around there, but there's still a bucket load of dice, and it results in a total of 4 hits. So 4 dice to roll for saves. Unfortunately, Kenneth fails a couple. It's kind of the way his luck's been going this whole game. And then Peter passes firepower on 1, which kills the last of the Stukas.
Okay, so he's close range. Target 1 of them in the open, single shot on a 4.
5 they were hulled down. There was only 1 team that shot.
Oh, yeah, so
Hulled down position. So those 2 didn't get shots.
these are supposed to be hold down, yeah?
Yes.
Right, 1 shot and 5 hit.
I'll do it. Any firepower?
3 up firepower. Yes, so just say him. And then 2 shots. 4, 5 for range, 6 for 1 hit. 3 up.
They are reluctant though.
1, 2, 3. We'll shoot at HQ, targeting the long barrel. So they are 4s, 5s concealment, 6. 1, anti-tank, 14. Does he have any better armour?
7.
It would go up to 8 for long range.
He's got range.
I'll try and bounce it.
Okay, yeah.
No. So we got to do your save now.
So
So
That was him trying to stick it onto.
yeah. 7 is a long range.
Yes.
Long range, so your armour goes up to 8.
I ain't going to do it.
3 up. Yes, so long barrel's good.
The bailed out Chaffee on the hill doesn't remount. It rolls a 2, so no chance there. The Shermans that are in front of the objective are moving behind the hill but keeping within 4 to force Kenneth to keep moving forward. He can't just sit back now, and he's going to have to even get into line of sight of these things. Now the other Shermans that have come on from reserve, Peter's going to keep moving them up. He could just stand still and shoot, but he's going to keep moving them to keep threatening flanks and also put more pressure on the front, making the firing options, shall we say, for Kenneth a little bit more tricky. Not just going to be those Shermans that are going to be behind the hill. US shooting. So Peter started with his artillery but failed to range in the priests onto the Panther platoon. The Shermans, 76mm Shermans from various positions, managed to get a kill and a bail against that Panther platoon. They needed 6s and 7s to hit, so there wasn't going to be a lot of hits coming in there. The Chaffies, who were round the flank of the commander, managed to just get the 1 hit. They needed 5, got 1 hit, but it could have been turret or hull because of the facings, but it hit the hull, and then another one from Kenneth, and ended up in the commander's tank being destroyed, but he was able to use his warrior save to get over to one of the tanks in the adjacent platoon. German starting step, and the bailed out Panther gets back in. The pinned infantry, however, they don't rally, but they're not really going anywhere. German movement, and Kenneth's not really got any choice. He's got to basically put his neck in the noose here, folks. He can't sit back. There's no prospect of a formation break, for instance. If he stands still and concentrates fire on anything, he's got to get in and contest that objective. German shooting wasn't very effective there, folks. The Panthers only had 1 dice each. Most of the targets were careful and concealed, and those hits that did land ended up being mistaken targeted onto jumbos, which saved easily. US starting step, and the Chaffee remounts. Because Patton is nearby within 8 inches and line of sight, he's gone from a 5 up to a 2 up motivation. US movement is just about getting anything that's out of line of sight a target, and anything which can get around the flanks is moving up. US shooting, starting with artillery, gets a hit but no kill on the infantry, and the priests manage to range in this time on the Panthers. They get a couple of hits, but both of them make their save.
So 2 didn't move, 2 did. So we'll go for the 2 that moved. Yeah. It will be 4, 5, 6s.
It's a short range.
Yeah.
It's a short range, it's 6s, yeah.
Nope.
5s. 1.
1 hit. Will you target on the HQ or the...
If I get rid of him...
If you get rid of him, he's potentially jumping to them.
It's still in fire.
So you're still fine. So that's what I'm saying. 2 goals is game.
So, yeah, I'll go for
These guys, right, okay, so 4 to match. Nope. Okay, so any preference? No.
this guy.
Yep.
Just in 5, force.
Fours. We didn't move. So 1 hit. Any preference? These guys again. Okay, so he's got the same win, doesn't he? 40 match, so to bail him.
It's fine.
Bump. This guy.
Yep. HQ and HQ.
So it'll be 4, 5, so can do smoke red? Or is he up against it?
No, you're up against it, so no. Against it. So it just be for
5s for
stabilizing. Who are you targeting? That guy. Too close to change it. So. 6.
I'll do it.
I think. Light armour, tank 5.
You're elevated there, so you're not worried about him.
Chaffee's, these two didn't move, Hammond did, so
It's going to be the same. Because see the one that moved, that's a penalty for moving, but not a penalty for concealment because it's elevated. The other ones don't have the penalty for movement, but have the penalty for concealment.
is that two?
Two.
On the platoon, or how many? HQ, so 5s, please. It's called. So 3 firefighters.
Now,
Does he go to the other tank? No.
No.
Did they move? They didn't move.
He did not move.
No,
this
so
is,
sixes.
This is what I was worried about, was everything coming in and then halting and then firing at me.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
these guys.
So where's that?
One is 2 tanks left.
One.
Oof, alright, okay. Presumably you're targeting this guy?
Yeah, try and get him. No. Aye, on you go then.
Okay, that's fine. But I mean, if you were targeting him, then it's all side shot, surely?
No, but it's a chance of a side shot.
Oh wait, oh yeah, okay, it's a chance. Okay, yeah, okay. So, 1 hit. No.
3, hold on a minute, that's potential bail.
Oh, because it's...
No, so he's fine.
And that, folks, bar a couple of more dice getting rolled, was it really. The Germans fired and the next turn didn't get any hits with a few surviving tanks. Yanks fired back the following turn and broke the formation. That was a hard one for Kenneth, you know, with reserves being employed and the split off his list. I think even at 100 points and the way he puts that list together, he doesn't want to be in reserves, especially against a numerically large opponent. He needed all of his pieces to fall into place early doors, and the dice went with him in that respect. And he had quite a few bad dice moments as well. But I think it was always going to be a difficult game for the Panthers, especially up against these late war Shermans with a slightly better armour, jumbos in particular, and the hypervelocity armour piercing. That was always going to make them difficult. The Panthers had to go into a killing ground with all those anti-tank 13 barrels, just, you know, like lining them up. So there you go, folks. 2 more games, nightly gaming. Enjoyed the monthly meet. If you're in Scotland, get in touch on Flames of War Scotland on Facebook, or in touch in the comments below if you've not got Facebook, and you know, we can get you involved. We play 2 games, it's quite relaxed. We bring our best game, but we're not there to win something, if you see what I mean. We're there to play the game and enjoy each other's company. So hopefully you've enjoyed our company in this video. Thanks for watching, as always. Thanks to the subscribers, as always. And if you'd like to subscribe, please do so. It helps us build the channel, bring this kind of content to more people who enjoy the game. And if you hit the bell button, we'll definitely see you all on the next one.